Hey, what's going on? Just got a lot of DVD reviews to go over here. This is going to be really short. Well, each review will be really short, but pretty much PWG, some stuff that I haven't got to talk about yet. And before we get to the PWG stuff, let me talk about the FIP show, Redefined. I'm not really that high in FIP, but I did want to check this show out because it has the classic Roderick Strong Erick Stevens match. I did see highlights of this match. They showed on the ROH video wire before the 6th anniversary show, and this is just amazing. But before I get to this match, honestly, I just kind of skimmed through this show. I just wanted to see certain matches. The opener was actually Austin Aries and Davey Richards. Um, and this is really solid. The crowd was really hot for this. This was just a lot better than I expected. This had like a ROH feel to it, so I really enjoyed that. And then I kind of skipped around I saw some of the Nigel versus Necro Butcher match. This is kind of Nigel's last match where he was a face. And then they turned him heel at the 6th anniversary show. So I don't know, this was not really that good. Pretty much what you expect. The typical is basically Nigel wrestling Necro Butcher style. So did not really enjoy that. Sal Rinauro and Tyler Black had a really good match. This is very solid. And FIP, it seemed like they put Tyler Black on the mic a lot just to get him, I guess they were just trying to get him ready for ROH as far as talking on the mic goes. So I guess that's kind of what FIP is. It's kind of a developmental territory for the ROH wrestlers. So, and then we had the match, Erick Stevens and Roderick Strong for the FIP title. This is just brutal stuff. It's a must-see match. It's crazy, though. You really can't expect guys to perform this way all the time. It's definitely going to take a toll on your body. It really wasn't smart for them to wrestle this kind of match, but you got to give them credit for going through what they went through. I mean, it was just crazy stuff. I mean, there was one spot in the match where Roderick just chopped Erick Stevens right in the face, and it looked like Stevens was dead after it. So yeah, definitely a brutal match. One of the best matches of 2008 by far. Just check it out. All right, so let's get to the PWG. The PWG DVDs. Life During Wartime is the first show I'll talk about. Without a doubt, a lot of people think this has actually one of the best matches of 2008 as well. Actually, like most people would consider this PWG's best match from 2008. The main event match between Human Tornado and Chris Hero. But before I talk about that, I can't really remember much about the undercard. The Dynasty, KAZMA, and MIYAWAKI, and the Young Bucks had like a 3-way tag match. That was pretty. That was really decent. Chris Bosh and Scorpio Sky. I remember that being really good. I remember Chris Bosh really impressed me in that match. Then you had Roger Strong and El Generico taking on Tyler Black and Jimmy Jacobs with the Age of the Fall. I think, yeah, that was really good as well. But the undercard wasn't that great here. It was a solid undercard, but you want to buy this DVD because of Human Tornado and Chris Hero. They had a guerrilla warfare steel cage match. It was really dramatic. Candice LeRae played a huge role in this match. It really worked though. Her involvement really made the match a lot more better. And there was some crazy stuff. Human Tornado took crazy bumps. I mean, this is just a really violent match. It's a must-see match. Actually, I'd say pass on getting the show. You really don't need to buy the show. It'll be on the PWG Sells Out 2 DVD, which I'll do a preview of. I think that looks spectacular. That's going to be coming out in a couple weeks, is actually the PWG Sells Out 2 set. All right, so the next show I'll talk about is The Secret of Gorilla Island. Most people consider this the worst PWG show of 2009, and I think there's a couple reasons for that. Brian Danielson was actually supposed to be booked on the show, but he had a staph infection, so he couldn't make the show. And then Jay Briscoe, they paid for his plane ticket to come out to California, but he pulled out the last second, supposedly because there was someone was circling his house over and over again, so he decided not to show up. So that's what happened. So a lot of talent really could not make the show, so the card had to be scrapped, and they came up with a different card. The match that stole the show was Kenny Omega versus Roderick Strong. It was a really good match, but it still was the ending was really weird. Davey Richards and Nick Jackson, I thought that was pretty solid, but there was some botches in the match, so it was that's why a lot of people kind of shit on it. The main event was actually Necro and Joey Ryan. It was pretty good for what it was. Better than your typical Necro match in ROH, but still just one of the weakest PWG main events. Considering the volume of quality that PWG has been pumping out in 2009, the show is it stands out as being very disappointing. So That's pretty much what it was. It's still decent, though. I wouldn't say it was terrible. But for the next show, Against the Grain, this is the most recent PWG show you can find from 2009. It was pretty solid, but not one of the better PWG shows of the year. Kenny King and David Richards was okay. Scott Lawson, Joey Ryan, it was solid but not great. Brian Kendrick and Roderick Strong, it was pretty good. Roderick pulled out some cool moves, but seriously, Kendrick is he just doesn't have it since he came back. I know I've said that a million times, but I still feel the same way. El Generico and Chris Hero was probably the best match on the show. And then you had Brandon Bonham. He won his Bowler qualifying match. Then you had LTP, who won his qualifying match as well. And then Young Bucks versus the Men of Low Moral Fiber was a pretty good main event. It was solid. I wouldn't say it was as good as their DDT4 match, but it was still really good, though. There was some really exciting false finishes, but the crowd really hated the exact finish of the match, though. They hated it. And but Against the Grain, it was a solid show, but definitely probably the second worst PWG show of the year behind Secret of Guerrilla Island. So the next one I'll talk about is Ombey Shouldnt Run. I heard this is supposed to be one of the better PWG shows of the older days. So this took place back in 2005. I don't know, so that's why I picked it up. I heard a lot of good things about it. I guess I was expecting it to be like the Manhattan Mayhem of all the PWG shows, but still, considering this is one of their best shows ever, that some people would actually say that, I was kind of disappointed, actually. Really, I mean, I would go so far as to say that, PWG's best stuff is going on right now. So yeah, from this show, you actually had, I'll talk about the main event first. You had AJ Styles and Kevin Steen. This is when Kevin Steen actually won the PWG title, and the finish was pretty bad. The match was just decent. It really wasn't anything spectacular. The best match on the show was actually the two skinny black guys, Human Tornado and El Generico. They took on Chris Bosh and Scott Lawson. Excellent match. El Generico pulled off some really sick stuff that he doesn't even do right now, so definitely check it out. And then you had Super Dragon and Quicksilver. They put on an excellent match as well. This is a pretty good show. I'm just saying it's just kind of disappointing considering it's PWG's best show of, best show of 2005, I guess people would say. Christopher Daniels and Chris Hero, I don't know. Daniels wrestled the match like he didn't give a shit. It was really, the finish was terrible too, so that wasn't that good. The other match that was pretty good was Rocky Romero and Davey Richards. They had a solid 3.5-star match, so that was pretty good. Overall, I say it's a pretty good show, which is kind of disappointing for what some would consider the greatest PWG show of the old days. Next show I'll talk about is Satin Fruit, I guess that's how you pronounce it. Obviously, the reason I wanted to buy this, it had a Bryan Danielson Roderick Strong match for the PWG title. Without a doubt, probably the weakest Bryan Danielson Roderick Strong match that I've seen. It was, I would say it's only weak because it was short, but while they did wrestle, I thought it was very good. It was very solid. Your typical Bryan Danielson Roderick Strong stuff. Really, technically, really, really good stuff. El Generico and Jack Evans was pretty fun. Then you had Chris Hero and Human Tornado. Their match was kind of just to advance their little feud that they had. They had a really big feud in 2007 going into 2008. What else on here? Scott Lawson, Davey Richards was solid. But, this is a really, really short show. It's only about an hour and a half. So, yeah, I mean, it was solid. Like, it was really easy to sit through, but I wouldn't consider it a great show. It's just a solid show. That's pretty much it for the reviews. And take it easy.